Alright, we have finally come to 2.4, and in 2.4 there really isn't any new information here. There's just a lot of practice with solving equations. That's all there is. So we're going to take a look at I'll give you some examples. You try to solve them. Work our way through this section. There are 6 problems only. They start off pretty easy, and then they just get a little bit more complicated as we go. So we're solving linear equations. Don't forget the addition property from 2.1, the multiplication property from 2.2, and all those sort of come to an end right here as we try to solve some equations here. So let you try it yourself first, and then I will try to do the problems after you, and you just check whether you're doing it correctly or not. So I'll give you a minute or so to try it yourself. Alright, so let's go for it here. So notice there's a parenthesis here. There's a 2 right in front of it, so that means there has to be a distributive property across here. So 2 times x, 2 times 4. At this point then we're subtracting 8 from both sides to get the 2x by itself at least. So 2x equals 6. And then dividing both of those by 2, we get our final answer of x is equal to 3. Alright, on the next one, again still distributing the 3 this time though. So 3 times x, 3 times a minus 5 makes 3x minus 15. Everything else remains the same. But we do have some simplifying to do. So notice the 15 and the 6 are both on the same side of the equal sign. So in this case, we're going to put it together. A negative 15 plus 6 more would make a negative 9. So these two simplifying just like we did in chapter 1. Once you start moving across the equal sign, that is when you start changing signs here. So once you want to get rid of the negative 9, that's when you want to add 9 to both sides. That is gone. So we're left with 3x is equal to 21. Divide through by 3, and we get ourselves an answer of x is equal to 7. A little too fast there. Alright, so how about distributive properties on both sides? So again, try this yourself, give you a minute or so, and we'll work them out together as well. Alright, so distributing the 6 over here, distributing the 4 over here. As you do that, you should get a simplified version of 6x minus 12 plus 3 on one side and 8x minus 28 plus 9 on the other. So again, simplifying each of the sides, negative 12 plus 3 makes a negative 9. Negative 28 plus 9 makes a negative 19. Alright, with that, let's start moving things across. So I'm going to move the 8x across over here, or cancel it off on this end. So the 8x disappears. And 6 subtract 8 makes a negative 2x. So minus 9 comes down. Now this subtract 19 now becomes a negative 19, because the sign has to go with the number. Alright, how about adding 9 to both sides to get rid of the negative 9 here? So negative 2x is equal to a negative 10. At this point, let's divide both sides by a negative 2. And we get ourselves an answer of x equals 5. Alright, let's go to number 4. Oh, I got decimals in our way now. Okay, I've got to solve decimals. Alright, first things first is still distribute. So once you see a parenthesis, a number in front of it, you still got to distribute this part right here. So 0.06x is going to stay the same, but 0.08 times x will give you 0.08x, and then 0.08 times 3,000. Again, you may have to do it off to the side somewhere and think about how many decimal places you have, but eventually you should wind up with 240. And the 520 remains the same. You could, if you wanted to, you can get rid of decimals. Looks like you won't need to move it twice here, twice there. So that means you're going to have to move decimals twice on all of these, or multiply by 100. But let's keep this here. So 0.06 plus 0.08 would give you 0.14x. So 6 and 8 makes 14, with a decimal in front of it. At this point, let's just finish it off here. So subtracting 240 from both sides, that gets canceled off as planned. So how about 0.14x equals to 280? And then dividing through by a 0.14 on one side and 0.14 on the other. Alright, that's to cancel off this. Now you have x by itself. We got a little problem here though. You got a fraction and a decimal. How do we handle that? Well, we start moving decimal places. So if you move the decimal place twice on the bottom, you better move the decimal place twice on top. But 280 is already 280. There's no decimal point, so the decimal point's here. And let's move it across 1 and 2. There it is. So really, technically, what we're doing is we are dividing 28,000 by 14. All right, that has to go off to the side. All right, 14 goes into 28,000. Should be 2,000 if you did it correctly here. So final answer, x is equal to 2,000. All right, second to last problem here. Try this yourself. All right, what this problem is supposed to teach you is this whole concept of multiplying through or distributing, but you have a minus sign in front of this 4. So what you're going to do is you're going to distribute this as a -4. So -4 times 2y and -4 times 3. So the 8 stays on the outside. But then we have -8y minus 12 gives you the 28. So like terms here on the left hand side is 8 and -12. So if you put those together, it should give you a -4. Again, collecting like terms, not moving across the equal sign yet. And then as we add 4 to both sides, get -8y is equal to 32. Dividing through by a -8, and we get ourselves y equals -4. All right, now putting all this together in terms of distributive property. So here we have to distribute the 4. Careful over here. There's nothing over, but there's technically like a little -1 right here. There's only subtraction, but we think of it as a -1. So we're going to distribute a -1 into here. And here, again, same thing. We're going to distribute a -1 into each of these pieces here. So here's my arrows, in case you need to see them. So 4 goes into the first parenthesis. A -1 goes to 3x, which changes the sign. And again, -1 goes to a +4, changes the sign. 7 stays the same. Negative goes to the 3, so it changes the sign to a -3. And subtracting a -4x really is the same thing as adding 4x. Ooh, lots of things to put together here. So like terms, looks like 8x and -3x is 5x. And the squiggly lines, -12 and a -4, if you put those together, that give you a -16. Like terms over here, yeah, 7 minus 3, but it doesn't matter which one you write first. I just wrote down the 4x first, and then 7 minus 3 gave me a 4. Alright, and solving it here, let's get our x's together on one side. Let's subtract 4x from both sides. The 4x is gone, leaving us with an x on the left. And adding 16 to both sides puts us with x equals 20 as our final answer. And this is going to conclude 2.4.